The Awakening. The vast expanse of space stretched before Admiral Zara Vex's flagship, the stars twinkling like distant beacons in the cosmic sea. The Galactic Empire's might was unmatched, its reach extending across countless star systems. For centuries, they had expanded unchallenged, assimilating or conquering any civilization that stood in their path. But as Zara gazed out at the unfamiliar constellations of this newly charted sector, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about this mission. Admiral, her second-in-command, Commander Thex, approached with a datapad in hand. We've detected an anomaly on the third planet of this system. It appears to be artificial in origin. Zara's antenna twitched with interest. Artificial? But our scans showed no signs of sentient life in this sector. That's correct, Admiral. The structure seems to be ancient, possibly predating our empire's formation. A smile played across Zora's features. Well, it seems we've stumbled upon some long-lost civilization's remnants. Prepare a landing party. I want to see this for myself. As the shuttle descended through the planet's atmosphere, Zara studied the barren landscape below. Rust-colored plains stretched to the horizon, broken only by jagged mountain ranges and deep canyons. It was a world that had seen better days, its surface scored by millennia of harsh winds and unforgiving sunlight. The landing party touched down near the coordinates of the anomaly. As Zara stepped out onto the planet's surface, her eyes widened. Before them stood a massive structure, its sleek lines and smooth surfaces a stark contrast to the rugged terrain surrounding it. Despite its apparent age, the building showed no signs of wear or decay. Fascinating, Zara murmured, approaching the structure. What do you make of it, Thex? The commander ran a scanner over the building's exterior. It's composed of materials unknown to our database, Admiral, and there's an energy signature emanating from within, albeit very faint. Zara's excitement grew. Can we get inside? Thex nodded, gesturing to what appeared to be an entrance. There seems to be an access point here. Give me a moment to interface with it. As Thex worked on bypassing the ancient security systems, Zora couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The Empire had encountered countless ruins and artifacts over the years, but something about this place felt different. It was as if the very air around them hummed with a latent energy, waiting to be awakened. With a soft hiss, the entrance slid open, revealing a darkened interior. Zara led the way, her team following close behind, weapons at the ready. As they entered, lights flickered to life, illuminating a vast chamber filled with unfamiliar technology. By the Emperor, Thex breathed, his eyes wide. This technology, it's far beyond anything we've ever encountered. Zara approached what appeared to be a central console. Its surface was smooth, unmarred by the passage of time. As she reached out to touch it, the console sprang to life, holographic displays materializing in the air around them. Can you make sense of any of this, Thex? Zara asked, her eyes darting from one incomprehensible readout to another. Before Thex could respond, a deep, resonant voice filled the chamber. Intruder alert. Unauthorized presence detected. Initiating Guardian Protocol. The room began to vibrate, the energy in the air intensifying. Zara's instincts screamed danger. Everyone out, now, she ordered, but it was too late. A blinding light erupted from the central console, enveloping the chamber. When it faded, Zara found herself face to face with a towering figure of light and energy. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but its presence radiated power beyond anything she had ever encountered. Who dares to trespass on the domain of humanity? The figure's voice boomed, shaking the very foundations of the structure. Zara stood her ground, despite the fear gripping her heart. I am Admiral Zara Vex of the Galactic Empire. We mean no harm. We are explorers, seeking knowledge of those who came before. The figure's gaze seemed to pierce through her. Galactic Empire. There is no empire recognized by the Guardian Protocol. This sector falls under the protection of humanity. You will leave immediately, or face the consequences of your trespass. Confusion and indignation warred within Zora. Humanity. But humans are nothing more than legends, fairy tales told to frighten children. They've been extinct for millennia. A sound like thunder rolled through the chamber as the Guardian's form pulsed with energy. Your ignorance betrays you, invader. Humanity is not extinct. We sleep, waiting for the day of our return. And you have just ensured that day will come sooner than anticipated. Before Zora could respond, alarms blared throughout the structure. The Guardian's voice rang out once more. Awakening sequence initiated. All dormant Guardians, prepare for activation. The human legacy must be protected. Panic gripped Zora as she realized the magnitude of what they had stumbled upon. This wasn't just some ancient ruin. It was a trigger, a failsafe left behind by a civilization far more advanced than they had ever imagined. Fall back, she shouted to her team, already sprinting for the exit. We need to warn the fleet. As they raced back to their shuttle, the ground beneath their feet trembled. In the distance, Zora could see other structures rising from the planet's surface, each pulsing with the same otherworldly energy as the Guardian they had encountered. Aboard the shuttle, racing back to the flagship, Zora's mind reeled. They had come seeking conquest, believing themselves to be the undisputed masters of the galaxy. Instead, they had awakened something beyond their comprehension, a force left behind by a species they had dismissed as myth. As the shuttle docked with the flagship, Zora knew that everything was about to change. The Galactic Empire, in all its might and arrogance, had just stirred a sleeping giant, and as alarms blared throughout the fleet, signaling the approach of unknown vessels emerging from hyperspace, Zora realized that their reign of unchallenged dominance was coming to an end. The age of humanity's return had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first encounter. Admiral Zara Vex stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Dominion, her normally composed demeanor shaken by the events unfolding before her. The vast view screen displayed a sight she had never thought possible. A fleet of ships emerging from hyperspace, their designs unlike anything the Empire had encountered in its long history of conquest. Status report. She barked, her antenna twitching with nervous energy. Commander Thex's fingers danced across his console. Admiral, we're detecting over 100 vessels of various sizes. Their energy signatures are off the charts. Our sensors can barely make sense of them. Zara's mind raced. The Guardian they had awakened on the planet's surface had spoken of humanity's return. But this was beyond anything she had imagined. Open a channel, she ordered. Let's see if we can reason with them. As Thex worked to establish communication, Zara couldn't help but reflect on the irony of their situation. The Empire had always seen itself as the pinnacle of galactic civilization, dismissing the legends of humanity as nothing more than fairy tales. Now, faced with the reality of their existence, she felt a cold dread settling in her core. The view screen flickered, and Zara found herself face to face with a being that defied her understanding. It appeared humanoid, but its form seemed to shift and change, as if struggling to maintain a single appearance. When it spoke, its voice resonated with the same power they had encountered in the Guardian below. Galactic Empire, the being intoned, its eyes flickering with an inner light. You have trespassed on sacred ground and awakened the guardians of humanity. Your actions have accelerated a process set in motion millennia ago. The children of Earth have returned to reclaim their birthright. Zara steeled herself, drawing on years of diplomatic experience. We meant no offense, she began, choosing her words carefully. Our empire seeks only to expand knowledge and bring order to the galaxy. Perhaps we can find a way to coexist peacefully. The being's expression remained impassive. Coexistence. Your empire's history speaks for itself. Admiral Zara Vex, we have observed your kind for centuries, watching as you subjugated world after world. Humanity left the Guardians behind to protect the galaxy from precisely this kind of unchecked expansion. A chill ran down Zora's spine. They had been washed. For how long? And why had the Guardians not intervened before now? As if reading her thoughts, the being continued. We gave you a chance to grow, to evolve beyond your base instincts, but you have proven yourselves unworthy of the trust we placed in you. The time has come for humanity to retake its place as stewards of the galaxy. Anger flared within Zora, momentarily overriding her fear. You abandoned the galaxy for millennia, and now you presume to judge us. The Empire brings stability and progress to countless worlds. Who are you to decide we're unworthy? The being's form pulsed with energy, its voice taking on a dangerous edge. We are the ones who seeded the stars with life when your ancestors were still learning to harness fire. We are the architects of civilizations that rose and fell before your empire was even a dream. And we are the guardians of a legacy you cannot begin to comprehend. Before Zora could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Thex's voice was tight with panic as he reported, "Admiral, they're powering up weapons. Energy readings are off the scale." Zara's training took over. Shields to maximum. Evasive maneuvers. All ships, prepare tow. Her orders were cut short as a brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the lead Guardian ship, slicing through the shields of a nearby Imperial cruiser as if they were tissue paper. The vessel erupted in a spectacular explosion, leaving nothing but debris in its wake. Impossible, Zora breathed, watching as her fleet, the pride of the Empire, was systematically torn apart by weapons beyond their understanding. The being's voice echoed through the bridge once more. "This is but a fraction of humanity's power, Admiral. A demonstration of why we chose to step back from the galactic stage. But you have forced our hand, and now you will bear witness to the full might of those you dismissed as legend." Zara watched in horror as more Guardian ships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons blazing. Imperial vessels, once the terror of countless civilizations, were swatted aside like insects. It was not a battle. It was a rout. "All ships, fall back," Zara ordered, her voice hoarse. "Retreat to the nearest Imperial stronghold. We need to warn the Emperor." As the remnants of her once proud fleet limped into hyperspace, Zora's mind reeled with the implications of what they had encountered. The Empire, which had stood unchallenged for centuries, had just met its match. And if the being's words were true, this was only the beginning. The journey back to Imperial space was tense, filled with frantic communications and desperate attempts to make sense of what had transpired. Zora pored over every scrap of data they had managed to gather, searching for some weakness, some flaw in the Guardians' defenses. But the more she studied, the more she realized how outmatched they truly were. When they finally arrived at the Imperial capital, Zara steeled herself for the task ahead. She would have to face the Emperor and the High Command, to explain how their actions had awakened a force that threatened the very foundations of the Empire. And somewhere, in the back of her mind, a treasonous thought began to take root. Perhaps the Empire's reign was coming to an end. As she prepared her report, Zora couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was on the brink of a transformation unlike anything it had seen in millennia. The age of unchallenged Imperial dominance was over. The children of Earth had returned, and with them came a reckoning that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. The first encounter had been a disaster for the Empire, but it was only the opening salvo in a conflict that would determine the fate of countless civilizations. And as reports began to flood in from across Imperial space of more Guardian ships appearing, Zara realized that the true battle for the galaxy's future was only just beginning. The hunt begins. The Imperial Palace on Centauri Prime, once a symbol of unassailable power, now buzzed with an undercurrent of fear. Admiral Zara Vex stood before the Emperor and the High Command, her usual confidence replaced by a grim determination as she recounted the disastrous encounter with the Guardians. Emperor Velaxis, his scaled skin glinting in the harsh light of the war room, leaned forward on his throne. "This is unprecedented," he hissed, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "In all our history, we have never faced a threat of this magnitude." Zara nodded, her antenna drooping slightly. The technology we encountered far surpasses our own, Your Majesty. Their weapons cut through our strongest shields as if they weren't there. And if the being we communicated with is to be believed, this is only a fraction of humanity's true power. Murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the assembled commanders. Grand Marshal Crix, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on Zara, spoke up. Surely there must be some weakness we can exploit. No species is invincible, not even these, humans. Zara activated a holographic display, showing the data they had gathered on the Guardian ships. We're still analyzing the information, but so far, we've found no vulnerabilities. Their hulls seem to be composed of materials unknown to our science, and their energy signatures defy our understanding of physics. The Emperor's tail lashed in agitation. What of their objectives? Surely they didn't awaken merely to destroy us. They spoke of reclaiming their birthright, Zora explained. The Guardian we encountered on the planet's surface mentioned that humanity had been sleeping, waiting for the right moment to return. Our actions seem to have accelerated their plans. Valexis's eyes narrowed, and now they hunt us. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the palace. A harried communications officer burst into the war room. Your Majesty, we're receiving reports from across the Empire. Guardian ships have been sighted in multiple sectors. They're methodically taking out our military installations and communication hubs. The room erupted into chaos as commanders rushed to terminals, desperately trying to coordinate a response. Zara felt a cold dread settling in her stomach. This was no random assault. The Guardians were systematically dismantling the Empire's infrastructure. Emperor Valaxis rose from his throne, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. Enough. We are the Galactic Empire. We have faced countless foes and emerged victorious. We will not cower before these relics of a bygone age. He turned to Zara, his eyes blazing with determination. Admiral Vex, you have faced these Guardians and lived to tell the tale. I'm placing you. Emperor Valaxis rose from his throne, his voice cutting through the pandemonium. Enough. We are the Galactic Empire. We have faced countless foes and emerged victorious. We will not cower before these relics of a bygone age. He turned to Zara, his eyes blazing with determination. Admiral Vex, you have faced these Guardians and lived to tell the tale. I'm placing you in command of our counteroffensive. Gather our best minds, our strongest ships. Find a way to stop these Guardians before they tear our empire apart. Zara straightened, feeling the weight of the galaxy on her shoulders. Yes, Your Majesty, I won't fail you. As she left the war room, her mind raced with possibilities. How could they hope to stand against a force that seemed to defy the laws of physics as they understood them? The answer, she realized, lay not in brute force, but in understanding. Over the next few weeks, as reports of Guardian attacks flooded in from across the Empire, Zara assembled a team of the brightest scientists, tacticians, and engineers from every corner of Imperial space. They pored over every scrap of data, every sensor reading, searching for some clue that might give them an edge. Dr. Xenta, a brilliant Arcturian xenorchaeologist, made the first breakthrough. Admiral, she said, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with excitement, I've been analyzing the language used by the Guardian you encountered. It's remarkably similar to ancient inscriptions found on ruins across the galaxy. Ruins we've always assumed were left by long-extinct civilizations. Zara leaned in, her antenna twitching. Are you saying these ruins are of human origin? Xenta nodded. It's possible that what we thought were multiple extinct species were actually different phases of human civilization. They've been shaping galactic history for far longer than we ever imagined. This revelation sent shockwaves through the imperial hierarchy. The idea that humans had been influencing galactic events from the shadows for eons was almost too much to comprehend. But it also gave Zara an idea. If these ruins are connected to the Guardians, she mused, then they might hold the key to understanding their technology and how to counter it. With the Emperor's blessing, Zara launched a daring plan. While the bulk of the Imperial fleet engaged in hit-and-run tactics to slow the Guardians' advance, she led a series of covered expeditions to previously overlooked ruins scattered throughout the galaxy. On a desolate moon in the Outer Rim, they found their first real lead. Hidden beneath millennia of dust and debris, they uncovered a hibernation pod of clear human design. Inside was a perfectly preserved human female, her vital signs barely registering. As the Imperial scientists worked to safely revive the ancient human, Zara couldn't shake a feeling of awe. Here, right before her eyes, was a member of the species that had become more legend than fact. The woman's eyes fluttered open, confusion giving way to alarm as she took in her alien surroundings. But when she spoke, the universal translator struggled to make sense of her words. Dr. Xenta stepped forward, using a combination of ancient languages she had pieced together from her studies. Slowly, haltingly, communication was established. The woman's name was Aria, and she was a scientist from Earth's distant past. She had volunteered for a long-term hibernation mission, meant to monitor the galaxy's development over millennia. But something had gone wrong with her pod's awakening sequence, leaving her slumbering far longer than intended. As Aria absorbed the reality of her situation, awakening countless years after her intended time, in a galaxy dominated by an alien empire, Zara saw an opportunity. Here was someone who might understand the Guardians' technology, someone who could give them the edge they so desperately needed. But Aria's reaction to news of the Guardians' awakening was not what Zara had hoped for. Instead of fear or a willingness to help the Empire, Aria's eyes lit up with joy. The Guardians are awake. She breathed, a smile spreading across her face. Then it's time. Humanity is returning. Zara felt a chill run down her spine. You don't understand, she tried to explain. These Guardians are destroying our empire, killing millions. Aria's expression hardened. No, Admiral. It is you who doesn't understand. The Guardians were created to protect, yes, but also to judge. If they've turned against your empire, then your civilization has been found wanting. Before Zara could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. On the monitors, she watched in horror as a massive Guardian ship appeared in orbit, its weapons charging. They found us, Zara whispered, realizing too late that reviving Aria must have triggered some sort of beacon. As the first energy beams lanced down from orbit, tearing through the facility's defenses, Zara was faced with an impossible choice. The Empire needed the knowledge Aria possessed, but the human clearly saw the Guardians as saviors, not destroyers. In the chaos of the attack, Aria slipped away, making her way towards the Guardian ship descending through the atmosphere. Zara, caught between pursuing the human and ensuring the survival of her team, hesitated for a crucial moment. The decision was made for her as a massive explosion rocked the facility, cutting off the path to Aria. All personnel, evacuate immediately, Zara ordered, helping the wounded towards the escape shuttles. As they fled the doomed moon, Zara watched the Guardian ship retrieve Aria, welcoming home one of humanity's long-lost children. The Empire had gained some knowledge, but at a terrible cost. And now, the Guardians had a living link to their creators, a development that could tip the scales of the conflict even further in their favor. Zara's mission to understand and counter the Guardians had taken an unexpected turn. As her shuttle limped back towards Imperial space, she realized that the true nature of this conflict was far more complex than a simple war between species. They were facing judgment from a civilization that had shaped the galaxy for millions of years. The hunt for knowledge had led them to awaken a human from the distant past, but instead of providing answers, it had only deepened the mystery. As reports continued to pour in of Guardian ships advancing across Imperial territory, Zara knew that time was running out. They needed a new strategy, and fast, or the Galactic Empire would soon be nothing more than a footnote in humanity's grand return to the cosmic stage. Revelations and alliances. The Imperial War Room was a hive of frantic activity as Admiral Zara vexed, delivered her report on the disastrous mission to the Outer Rim. Emperor Valaxis listened in stony silence, his scaled fingers drumming an impatient rhythm on the arm of his throne. "So," the Emperor hissed as Zara concluded, "not only did we fail to gain a tactical advantage, but we've handed the enemy a potential source of intelligence." His tail lashed in agitation. "This situation grows more dire by the moment, Admiral." Zara stood her ground, her antennae quivering slightly. "With respect, Your Majesty, I believe we've gained valuable insight into the nature of our enemy. The human we revived, Aria, spoke of the Guardians as protectors and judges. This suggests that their goal isn't simple conquest. They're following some greater purpose." Grand Marshal Crix scoffed, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on Zara. "Purpose? They're systematically destroying our empire. What greater purpose could there be beyond our annihilation?" Before Zara could respond, the war room's main display crackled to life. A haggard-looking Imperial officer appeared, his uniform torn and smudged with soot. "Your Majesty," he gasped, "we've received a transmission from the frontier colonies." The Emperor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "The frontier colonies. We lost contact with that sector weeks ago. We assumed they had fallen to the Guardians." The officer nodded grimly. "So did we, sire. But it seems they formed an alliance." A stunned silence fell over the war room. Zara's mind raced. The frontier colonies had always been a troublesome part of the Empire, populated by species who chafed under Imperial rule. But an alliance? With the very force that threatened to destroy them all. The war was far from over. The Empire would not go quietly, and there would be hard battles ahead. But as Zara looked out at the wonders of human technology and the diverse species working together in harmony, she knew she had made the right choice. The Age of Empires was ending, and a new era of galactic cooperation was dawning. And Zara, once a proud Imperial admiral, now found herself on the front lines of a revolution that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. The final stand. The Galactic Empire, once the undisputed master of countless star systems, now found itself fighting for its very survival. Emperor Valaxis, his scaled features set in a mask of grim determination, stood aboard the bridge of the Eternal Flame, the mightiest warship ever constructed by Imperial engineering. Around him, a vast armada stretched as far as the eye could see, the last desperate hope of a dying regime. "Status report," Valaxis demanded, his tail twitching with barely contained tension. Grand Marshal Crix, his cybernetic implants whirring as they processed tactical data, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, our forces are in position. We've gathered every ship capable of combat from across the Empire. This is truly our last stand." Valaxis nodded, his eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of hyperspace visible through the view screen. "And the enemy?" "Our scouts report a massive Guardian fleet assembling near the Frontier Alliance territory. They seem to be preparing for a final push into the heart of our space." The Emperor's claws dug into the armrests of his command chair. The loss of Admiral Vex and her defecting forces had been a bitter blow, one that still stung weeks later. But he had no time for regrets now. Everything hinged on this battle. "The moment they enter real space, unleash everything we have," Valaxis ordered. "We'll show these so-called Guardians and their human masters the true might of the Empire." As if in response to his words, alarms blared across the bridge. The swirling vortex of hyperspace split open, disgorging a fleet that defied comprehension. Guardian ships of impossible geometries, each one a work of art, as much as a weapon of war, filled the void. And at their center, a vessel that dwarfed even the Eternal Flame. A massive, gleaming construct that pulsed with energy. For a moment, both fleets hung motionless in space, two titans poised on the brink of apocalyptic conflict. Then, with a word from Emperor Valaxis, the Imperial Armada surged forward, unleashing a maelstrom of energy weapons, missiles, and fighter squadrons. The battle that followed would be spoken of in whispers for generations to come. Imperial ships, the pride of 1,000 conquered worlds, clashed against guardian vessels that seemed to bend the very fabric of space-time. Entire squadrons vanished in blinding flashes of light, while others performed maneuvers that should have been impossible, guided by AIs that operated on levels beyond organic comprehension. Aboard the Eternal Flame, Emperor Valaxis watched with a mixture of awe and despair as his fleet was systematically torn apart. The Guardians' weapons bypassed shields as if they weren't there, while Imperial weapons seemed to slide off the enemy's hulls without leaving a scratch. "This can't be happening," Crix muttered, his organic eye wide with disbelief. "We've thrown everything we have at them." Valaxis snarled, slamming his fist on the arm of his chair. "Divert all power to weapons. We'll tear that monstrosity apart even." Valaxis snarled, slamming his fist on the arm of his chair. "Divert all power to weapons. We'll tear that monstrosity apart even if it's the last thing we do." The Eternal Flame surged forward, its massive weapons charging to levels that threatened to tear the ship apart. With a blinding flash, it unleashed a barrage that would have annihilated a small moon. The energy beams struck the central Guardian vessel head-on. For a breathless moment, hope flickered in the hearts of the Imperial crew. But as the glare faded, their hearts sank. The Guardian ship hung in space, completely unscathed, the attack having been absorbed by some incomprehensible defense system. Before the Empire could launch another assault, the Guardian vessel began to glow. A voice, achingly familiar, echoed through every communication channel on both sides of the conflict. Enough. It was Aria, the human they had awakened, now fully merged with Guardian technology. "This bloodshed serves no purpose. Emperor Valaxis, you have led your people down a path of destruction. But even now, it is not too late to change course." Valaxis bristled, his scales flaring with anger. "We will never surrender to." His words were cut short as the Eternal Flame suddenly shuddered. Around them, Imperial ships began to power down, their weapons and engines going silent. Even the Eternal Flame's systems flickered and died, leaving them drifting in space. "What's happening?" Valaxis demanded, panic edging into his voice for the first time. Crix worked frantically at his console. It's some kind of energy field. It's shutting down all our technology." As the Imperial fleet hung helpless in space, the massive Guardian vessel began to transform. Its surface rippled and flowed, reshaping itself into a structure of breathtaking beauty. Part ship, part space station, part living organism. A brilliant beam of light engulfed the Eternal Flame, and Valaxis found himself and his senior staff transported into a vast chamber within the Guardian construct. There, surrounded by technology beyond their wildest dreams, they came face to face with Aria and a diverse group of beings. Humans, members of the Frontier Alliance, and even some familiar Imperial faces, including Admiral Zaravex. Aria stepped forward, her form seeming to shimmer between human and something far more ethereal. "Emperor Valaxis, leaders of the Galactic Empire, you stand at a crossroads. The path you have walked has led to this moment of judgment." Valaxis, his imperial pride warring with the awe of his surroundings, straightened his posture. "And who are you to judge us? You abandoned the galaxy for eons." "We did not abandon it," Aria corrected gently. "We watched. We waited. We hoped that the younger races would learn to coexist, to grow beyond the cycle of conquest and subjugation. Some did." She gestured to the members of the Frontier Alliance. "Others, like your empire, clung to old ways that can no longer be tolerated." Zara stepped forward, her antenna twitching nervously. "Your Majesty, please listen. I've seen what the Guardians and humanity can offer. It's not subjugation they want, but cooperation. A chance to be part of something greater than empire or species." Valaxis's eyes narrowed. "Traitor," he hissed. "You abandoned your oath, your people." "I chose to save as many as I could," Zara replied firmly. "The empire as we knew it cannot stand against this power, but we can be part of shaping what comes next. Arya nodded, a sad smile on her face. The choice, as always, remains yours. Join us, help us build a galaxy of cooperation and shared knowledge, or cling to your empire and fade into obscurity, quarantined on your homeworld while the rest of your former subjects choose their own paths. The chamber fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on Valaxis and his commanders. The Emperor's mind raced, centuries of imperial doctrine warring with the undeniable reality before him. They were utterly outmatched, facing a power that could have destroyed them at any moment, yet chose restraint. Finally, Valaxis slumped, the fight leaving him. "You truly leave us no choice, do you?" he said quietly. Arya's expression softened. "There is always a choice, Emperor. It is simply that, for the first time, the consequences of choosing conquest over cooperation have become too great to ignore." Over the next several hours, the fate of the galaxy was reshaped. The Galactic Empire, as an entity of conquest and subjugation, was dissolved. World after world was given the choice to join the new Galactic Federation, to remain independent, or to form their own alliances. To the surprise of many, Valaxis himself chose to join the Federation, offering his knowledge of governance and diplomacy to help ease the transition for former imperial worlds. Zara found herself in a key role, bridging the gap between the old empire and the new order. As news spread across the galaxy, there were celebrations on countless worlds. Ships of every description arrived at the massive Guardian construct, now serving as the headquarters for the fledgling Federation. The Age of Empires had ended, and a new era of exploration, cooperation, and shared growth had begun. Months later, Zara stood beside Arya on an observation deck, watching ships from 100 different species coming and going. "I still can't quite believe it," Zara mused. "Everything we thought we knew about the galaxy, about our place in it." Arya smiled, her form flickering between human and energy being. "This is only the beginning. Humanity's legacy was never meant to be an empire, but a catalyst for something greater. The Guardians were our failsafe, ensuring that when we returned, we would find a galaxy ready to reach its full potential." The display shifted, showing a new face, one that made Zora's breath catch in her throat. It was Arya, the human they had awakened. But she looked different now, more assured, her eyes glowing with an inner light that spoke of power beyond mortal comprehension. "Greetings, Emperor Valaxis," Arya said, her voice resonating with the same otherworldly timbre as the Guardian they had first encountered. "I speak on behalf of the Frontier Alliance and the awakened children of Earth." Valaxis rose from his throne, his voice tight with barely contained rage. "You dare address me, traitor? Your actions have brought chaos to our realm." Arya's expression remained impassive. "Your realm, Emperor, was built on the suffering of countless species. The Guardians were created to prevent exactly this kind of unchecked expansion and exploitation. But we are not here to simply destroy. We offer a choice." She gestured, and the display widened to show a breathtaking sight. Lush garden worlds, space stations of impossible design, ships that seemed to bend reality around them. "This is the legacy of humanity," Arya explained. "Not an empire built on conquest, but a federation of worlds working together in harmony. The frontier colonies have seen the truth of our vision and have joined us willingly." Zara couldn't help but marvel at the images. If this was truly the work of humanity, then their power was even greater than they had imagined. But something nagged at her. "You say you offer a choice," she said, stepping forward. "What exactly are the options?" Arya's gaze locked onto Zara, a flicker of recognition passing across her features. "Admiral Vex, your curiosity does you credit. The choice is simple. The Empire can choose to peacefully dissolve, allowing its member worlds to decide their own fate. Those who wish to join our Federation will be welcomed. Those who wish to remain independent will be free to do so." "And the alternative?" Emperor Valaxis growled. "Continued resistance will be met with the full force of the Guardians. Arya said, her voice taking on a harder edge. "We will dismantle your empire piece by piece if necessary, freeing every world under your control." The war room erupted into shouts of anger and disbelief, but Zara's mind was whirling with the implications of this offer. She turned to the Emperor, her voice urgent. "Your Majesty, we should consider." "Enough." Velaxis roared, silencing the room. He turned back to the display, his eyes blazing with defiance. "We are the Galactic Empire. We do not bow to threats, no matter how powerful the enemy. Your ultimatum is rejected." Arya nodded, a look of sadness crossing her face. "Then you have made your choice. May the stars have mercy on you, for the Guardians will not." The transmission cut off, leaving the war room in a tense silence. Zara's heart sank. She understood the Emperor's pride, his unwillingness to let go of the power the Empire had held for so long. But she had seen the Guardians' power firsthand. This was a war they could not win through force alone. As the Emperor began barking orders, preparing for all-out war, Zara slipped out of the war room. Her mind was made up. If the Empire would not save itself, then perhaps she could save at least some small part of it. Over the next few days, as the Empire mobilized for what would surely be its final stand, Zara worked in secret. She contacted trusted allies across Imperial space, beings who had seen the writing on the wall. Together, they formulated a daring plan. On the eve of the Empire's great counteroffensive, as the combined might of the Imperial fleet prepared to launch a desperate attack against the Guardian Armada, Zara made her move. Dozens of ships, from massive dreadnoughts to nimble corvettes, suddenly broke formation. Led by Zara's flagship, they jumped to hyperspace, leaving the stunned Imperial forces behind. When they emerged, they found themselves face to face with the Frontier Alliance fleet. For a tense moment, weapons were trained on both sides. Then Zara opened a channel. "I am Admiral Zara Vex," she announced, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I and those who follow me wish to defect. We choose to join your federation, in the hope of building a better future for all species in the galaxy." There was a pause that felt like an eternity. Then Arya's face appeared on the view screen, a warm smile spreading across her features. "Admiral Vex," she said, "on behalf of humanity and the Frontier Alliance, I welcome you home." As the defecting ships were escorted into the heart of Alliance space, Zara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The empire she had served for so long was doomed, its fate sealed by pride and an unwillingness to change. But here, among beings who had chosen cooperation over conquest, she saw a glimmer of hope for the future.